Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled public meeting of May 20th, 2019 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. Please notify the municipal clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at mayor and council meetings. The fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door on your left. Please silence all cell phones at this time. Would everybody please stand for a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And roll call.
Councilman Bruno. Councilman Casio.
Here.
Councilman Cumming.
Here.
Councilman Ullman. Council President DeSena.
Here. Let the record reflect also in attendance Mayor Peter Calamari, Township Administrator Robert Tovo, Township Attorney Ken Poller, Township CFO Judy Curran, and Township Clerk Susan Witkowski. At this time, a reading of the total list of bills as of April 30th, 2019, please.
Which should have been read at the last meeting, my apologies. Total 2008, the following is a list of bills paid since the last bill list was submitted representing April 1st, 2019 through April 30th, 2019. Total 2018 reserves, $29,868.30. Total 2019 current, $3,701,839.87. Total capital fund, $42,836 even. Total animal control, $115.80. Total grant fund, 0. Total trust fund, $6,517.86. Total escrow trust, $68,829 even.
Thank you. Let the record reflect Mr. Bruno has joined us. Motion to approve the, approval of minutes, budget meeting minutes, March 20th, 2019. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Bruno.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. At this time, we'd like to recognize Mr. Robert Bendon on his 100th birthday of May 19, 1919. Mayor Calamari, if you'd like to start reading.
Yeah, I'll go down here.
Yep. Okay.
Testing, testing, testing.
Yeah.
You look a little frazzled around the edges.
I was in Atlanta for a while and came back. Just busy.
As long as everything's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being here for
Busy is
Mr.
good.
Benden's
Work is good.
celebration of his 100 years on this earth. I'm sure you've seen a lot of things, most of them good, I hope. I assume his family wrote up and sent us his bio, so I'd like to take a few minutes and read that with Councilman DeSena. We're going to take turns reading different sections of it. So, early years. Robert Bob Benden was born on Monday, May 19, 1919, in Brooklyn, New York. His parents, Perry Benden of Luton, England, and Margaretta Nee Howell Benden of London, England, immigrated to America around 1912. The two met in Brooklyn at a dance for British transplants and married sometime after. Robert was the couple's second child and the new baby brother of his 18-month-old sister Ruth. Bob was only 4 pounds at birth with a heart issue, so the doctors didn't expect him to survive. Being so sickly, the doctors recommended that Robert, his mother hated nicknames so never called him Bob, although everyone else did, be raised in the country as he needed fresh country air. So 2 months after his birth, his family moved to a small 2-bedroom home, the family home until the early 1970s in Hillsdale, New Jersey. At the age of 5, Bob began his schooling at the newly built 12-room schoolhouse, the George White School in Hillsdale. As a boy, he earned pocket change by delivering newspapers on his bike and by caddying at a local golf course. He attended 4 years of high school at Park Ridge High School, from which he graduated in 1937, along with the 12 other students in his high school class. Bob liked to play baseball, and was the left-handed relief pitcher for the Park Ridge High School team, although he admits he wasn't that great of a pitcher. After high school, Bob went to work at the American Can Company in Jersey City. He was hired to work on the milk container line and later worked as a clerk typist before being drafted into the United States Army during World War II.
On December 9, 1942, Bob was inducted into the United States Army in Newark, New Jersey. After taking his physical and doing other testing, the Army decided to place Bob in the medical corps to train as an X-ray technician. Bob spent one day in Fort Dix where he was made a corporal and then was put on a train to Little Rock, Arkansas for 3 months of training at O'Reilly General Hospital. His X-ray technician training included learning all 206 bones in the body part positioning for X-rays, how to operate the machine, and to develop and process X-ray film. After he completed his training, Bob was sent to Fort McCoy in Wisconsin for another 3 months, at which time he was assigned to the 35th Field Hospital in Italy. Bob was sent back to the East Coast to Camp Shanks in Orangetown, New York, the largest U.S. Army embarkation camp during World War II, where after 2 days he and his unit began their 2-week journey aboard a troop transport to Tunis, Africa, the first stop on their way to Italy and the World War II European campaign. Bob's unit was in Tunis for about 3 months, after which they boarded an LTS to cross the Mediterranean Sea to Italy. When the LTS arrived in Taranto, Italy, they were informed the ship carrying the medical equipment that had left the day before them had been bombed by German aircraft while crossing the Mediterranean. A lieutenant and 4 soldiers were killed in the airstrike, and all the medical equipment was lost. Since there was no medical equipment available, everything was pretty much put on hold until the new equipment arrived. His unit left Taranto and moved about 30 miles north to a very small town named Urki, where the Army took over the school and made it into a field hospital to tend to sick and injured soldiers, as the best they could without medical equipment. Bob believes this was the first field hospital in the war, an idea initiated by his unit's lieutenant colonel. Bob's unit remained in the small town until the new equipment arrived in Bari, Italy. His unit went to Bari and then traveled by freight train with the medical equipment to Naples, where his unit was broken up into 2 separate field hospital units. His unit was sent to Sinigaglia on the coast of the Adriatic Sea, where they again took over a school and made it into a field hospital. His medical unit was attached to the Air Corps, so it was their responsibility to tend to injured air corpsmen. His medical unit often got busy later in the day when the air corpsmen returned from their daily missions of bombing Germany. It was a happy time for everyone when the Germans surrendered and the war ended in Europe. After some much earned R&R, Bob's unit was scheduled to deploy to the Pacific. However, the war in the Pacific soon ended after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August of 1945, so his unit returned to the United States, arriving home on December 1st, 1945. Bob was honorably discharged as a technician, 4th grade, on December 5th, 1945, in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. He received the European, African, Middle Eastern Ribbon, a Good Conduct Medal, and a Victory Medal for his service in World War II.
Family years. After the war, Bob returned home and moved back to his parents' home in Hillsdale. He returned to work at the American Can Company, this time as a timekeeper. He gradually worked his way up to production control manager, the position from which he retired in 1972 after a total of 34 years with the company. From 1946 to 1948, Bob was a member of the Hillsdale Volunteer Fire Department. While in the department, he joined the fire department softball team and played center field. Bob married Viola Blitz of Westwood, New Jersey on April 11, 1948, when he was 28 and she was 20. They had their first and only home built in 1949 on Fern Street in the Township of Washington, where he continues to live for almost 70 years. As money was tight in those early years, he moonlighted as a bartender at the Harmony, now the Doghouse, to help pay for his home. He also continued his softball career in the township by playing on the Harmony softball team for a number of years. Bob and Vi raised their 3 daughters, Bonnie, Kathleen, and Lynn, in the township. Their daughter Bonnie blessed them with 3 grandsons. Bob also has a 10-year-old great-granddaughter who is the apple of his eye. Bob and Vi love to travel, so after his retirement from the American Can Company, they took a number of car trips during which they visited every state in the continental United States, as well as driving across the lower regions of Canada. They also took trips to Hawaii and Alaska to complete their desire to visit all 50 states. Bob and Vi were avid bowlers, joining numerous bowling leagues over the years. Bob also loved to golf. After 5 years of retirement and doing much traveling, Bob went back to work in 1977 as a custodian in the Hillsdale school system to help pay those costly green fees. He retired from that position in 1981. Bob continued to play golf through his 80s and bowled in a senior bowling league until about 3 years ago. Bob's wife, Vi, sadly passed away in October 2000 at the age of 73. About a year after her passing, Bob was introduced to Margaret Keats, a widow, by his dentist who also resides in the township, James Keats. Marge grew up in Hillsdale and also attended Park Ridge High School, graduating several years after Bob. Bob and Marge, acquaintances from their childhood years, hit it off right away and ended up having 11 great years together until her passing in 2012.
Although he doesn't participate any longer, Bob is a member of the Hillsdale chapter of the American Legion. He continues to live on his own in the same home in Washington Township that he and Vi raised their family. He enjoys doing daily jigsaw puzzles, watching sports on TV, especially golf and baseball. His teams are the Yankees and the Mets, as well as watching his daily judge programs, game shows, and movies. He loves working playing on his computer. He checks out his emails and Facebook friends every day and is a master of playing hearts and solitaire. Bob is very close to his family, enjoying the holidays and gatherings of family and friends. He has a 10-year-old great-granddaughter who is the apple of his eye. Marge's children are still very much a part of Bob's life, also with their frequent calls and visits when they are in town. Bob turned 100 yesterday, May 19th, and he looks forward to the start of the second century, an almost unimaginable achievement for most. God bless you, Bob.
So also to mark this special occasion, we like to present Bob with a plaque that we had made up. The Township of Washington proudly presents this award with warmest congratulations to Robert W. Benden, May 19th, 2019, on this momentous occasion, your 100th birthday. We have witnessed great milestones in our nation's history, and your life represents an important part of the American story. As you reflect upon a century of memories, we hope that you are filled with tremendous pride and joy. Happy birthday, and may you enjoy many more happy years in the future. Presented by the Mayor and Council.
John.
You want to take a picture with me?
Yes, I would like that. Yeah, I know it.
The council should be down?
Not my thing. Not my thing. Oh, it's country air. It's the old country air.
Thank you. You ready for the next recognition?
Mr. Lynch isn't here yet, so hopefully he's running a little late.
All right, so we'll hold off on the second recognition, everyone.
Do the proclamation.
We're going to do the, moving on to the proclamation of EMS Week, May 19th to the 25th, 2019. Mayor Calamari?
Yeah, so this being EMS Week also, we have a proclamation for our emergency medical services. Whereas emergency services are a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services have grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventive medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of the emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage of thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of the emergency medical services providing by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, I, Peter Calamari, Mayor of the Township of Washington, do recognize the week of May 19th through May 25th, 2019 as Emergency Medical Services Week with the theme EMS Strong, Beyond the Call. So thank you to all of our emergency services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, do I have a motion to open the meeting up to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. If anybody would like to come up to the podium and address the council at this time, may you please come up and state your name and address.
My name is Earl Norwood. I live at 341 Jackson Avenue. For a point of reference, is if you walk out your back door here, across the parking lot, through the fence, you're in my backyard. I sent a letter to all of you on last Monday, I guess. I want to thank Mr. Tovo for taking my visit Monday morning and talking to him unannounced. Mr. DeSena, thank you for your response, acknowledging that it happened. The issue here is that on Saturday morning, unbeknownst to us, they came in and they took down all the trees along the back line of the fence here. Those trees were planted many years ago when this building was first built as a privacy buffer for us and this parking lot and this building and now the tower and all that. What it did for us is it opened up a 3D panorama of this building and the tower. And back in 1998, we were promised that that fence, the tree line, and one other detail would be maintained. So when I came over and I talked to Mr. Tovo, I got the impression that there was no plan to put any trees back there. Some cars maybe along there, which we have anyway, and maybe something else, which I don't know whether it's a plan or not a plan, but it doesn't help us from that side. There are at least 5 homes over there that were part of it back in 1998 when this whole thing was negotiated. That fence was only a 6-footer. We wanted a 10-footer, and we settled at 8, and then the tree line. There are supposed to be trees every 10 foot on center if they're using the bigger trees, which are the ones that were taken down, the firs, because they don't survive that well. The arborvitae that was subsequently put up behind the northern home there, the Taskers, they survive a little bit better. They don't have really caused any of the problem that the others did. The only problem with them is the third issue was that there were supposed to be no yellow vehicles along the fence line. If you go look at those trees, they're suffering from those yellow vehicles being over there on that tree line. There are burn marks on those trees. A couple of them have gone over. They've fallen over into the fence. Somebody should have been able to pick them up. After one of the storms many years ago, I waited about 2 or 3 weeks and I came over and I said, at a council meeting, nobody's taking care of the trees that are leaning. Nobody knew what trees I was talking about, so obviously nobody ever looks back there. Sent me to the DMF. I went there. They didn't know what I was talking about. Explained it to them, took them out, showed it to them. I said, look, these trees, you just pull them up, stake them, they'll stay. 2 days later, chainsaws, they took them right down. So there was a lot of money lost right there. Make a long story short, what we're looking for is somebody to please tell us that you're going to put some trees back up out there, create that buffer that we had before, so we're not looking directly in here. I walked into Ms. Witkowski's office with Mr. Tovo the other day. You can look right out that and right in my back door. My kitchen table is right there. My deck, same way. in all honesty, the view from this side is not that bad. Back over on our side of the fence, I mean, this whole complex is completely open to us. My neighbor next door, young couple, two young kids, they bought that house a few years ago, put a ton of money into it. They've done a fantastic job. Same thing. He said, what am I supposed to do now? All right? So we need to do something. We need to put these trees back up. We need to get that buffer out there for those people. And my thought is that since I have no idea what the plan is for here, I haven't seen or heard, if you continue on a northern pattern up that, up the parking lot and build something else, you'll be taking other trees down, and now you're going to be involving more people, more homes. So you need to look at us like your neighbors, and please do something. That's really what we're looking for.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. Like I told you when I responded to you Saturday, I was online going to dump my leaves, and I noticed the chainsaws out and all the trees coming down. We had we were given no notice that they were coming down, so.
Well, neither were they, were we. And it was odd to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and have somebody cutting down trees. We have no idea what's going on. So we
Mr.
should have
Mayor-
been told. But
Mr. Mayor, can we have our new engineer look at possibly planting some green giant arborvitaes that grow about a foot a year?
We are looking into options there to minimize the impact of the neighbors.
Okay.
okay,
Yes, we take your concern seriously.
all right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Norwood.
So, is Mr. Norwood's time?
His time is up. If
Okay.
you want to talk, if
No,
everybody's-
I have a question. So, I had asked that something be added to the agenda, but
And it was, Mike.
yes, and it's come up at a timely, but this has come up at a timely basis. So what is our obligation as a town to the individuals who live and border our property?
Well, it'd be the same obligation that a resident would have. A resident does not have to notify his neighbors that he's cutting down trees in their backyard.
He doesn't have to, there's no law.
But they do. I mean,
But-
I know what neighbors
Of course
on
they
both sides
do.
are doing.
Of course they
That's
do.
neither here nor there.
No,
No, but I'm
it's
just saying-
not
I'm just
neither
saying
here.
our-
I'm sorry, I
our-
don't mean to disagree. I think it is exactly what we need to be speaking about, because why would someone go into their backyard, cut down,
You're not in my backyard.
no,
You're
in our backyard, and cut down those trees without having a discussion? When I did yard work, when I redid my property, I
agree.
knocked on all of my neighbors, I explained what I was doing, I asked if they had any concerns, and we addressed those concerns. And I think as a good neighbor, we should be doing that. Why are we cutting down trees without a plan to replace them? And the reason we took them down is so we could park more cars there. The parking spots are there. So, I mean, what was the reason we took them down?
Mr. Tolo?
We want to realign the parking lot and park the police vehicles that are not in service along the back row. But those trees that were there create a lot of sap, which would therefore impact the paint on the police vehicles. So that's why they were taken down.
So
A few of them were dead.
They couldn't be elevated? I mean, we couldn't try to do something?
They were previously elevated.
And it still was a problem?
It was.
Well, I feel that, we haven't been a good neighbor to the individuals who border our property. I feel like, just taking it down without a plan, Michael is proposing arborvitaes. Even if they grow a foot a year and we buy the biggest ones available, it's going to be many years before they have any legitimate screen.
Absolutely, but it's better than no screen.
Well, I just think that, as a town,
Well, like we said,
We
none of us knew until.
I agree.
If
And
you go back to
the same-
the original plans showed a minimum of 31 trees going down the line and across the back. And then you hit the hedge over by the ambulance corps. So that's how many trees were originally, I'm assuming, put in. I didn't count them after they put them in, but that's what the plan shows.
Does the town have an ordinance that if residents remove trees, they're supposed to replace a certain amount of trees?
Yes, Bob.
So, I mean, do we follow our own ordinances, or do we have a plan to
No.
follow our own ordinances, or we just don't
Not
care?
on not on town-owned property.
So we can take anything we want down, and we don't have to follow the
It's the
ordinance?
town's property, it's the township's property, correct, yes.
And that ordinance does not require you to notify your neighbors, probably.
So,
That's
again,
all I was saying.
Right.
That's all, and Mike, I agree with you, it's good, it's a good thing to do, but the question that was posed was, do we have to notify the neighbors? And even, so if you aren't a good neighbor, you didn't have to tell your neighbors you
I
were cutting
agree
down
with
those
that.
trees.
Thankfully, I am. And I would, the town is going to be doing construction at the firehouse. They're putting up it's estimated to be a 4-story building. I am assuming that the trees that
It's
are...
a 35-foot high building, not a 4-story high building.
Well, the engineer spoke of not having a final height, but I think he did say it could reach 40 feet, which would be a 4-story building. So 40 feet tall. The trees that are on the, I guess it's the westbound side of the parking lot, those, I assume, are going to have to be taken down to build, because we're going to build right against the property line. And I guess my question is, have we spoken to those neighbors? Have we asked them for their opinion? Have we explained to them what we're doing so they're aware of it? I understand we advertise, I understand we have these meetings on TV, but I do think that, as a good neighbor, that should be something we consider doing.
Okay. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? Would you come up to the podium and state your name and address, please?
Mike?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch is about 10 minutes away.
Okay, thank you.
Mary Gozell, 464 Van Amberg. I understand that in the month of April, Bergen County participated in a crackdown on texting while driving, and those police departments that participated were awarded in grant money $5,500. I'd like to know how much the township received.
Mr. Toba, do you have those numbers?
That grant was not applied for by the police department.
Okay, and any reason why? Is it something, sorry about that. We spoke previously in other council meetings about grant money being either lost, not followed up. This would have been a great situation for the town to receive.
I would agree, and I've encouraged the chief to apply for these grants in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and address the council at this time?
It's 5,500 down the tubes.
Yeah,
5,500 down the tubes.
That 55 is just for enforcement thing.
Good evening. My name is Frank Gozell. I live at 464 Van Emberg Ave. And while we're on the subject of traffic, I'd just like to reiterate a concern of mine. I appreciate the fact I live on Van Amberg, obviously, near IHA, and I realized that about a month ago, some signage was introduced on that street. It was the yellow sign of crossing that flashed 24 hours a day. I was doing some yard work over the weekend. I don't know what that signage is supposedly doing. The cars are not slowing down. And with that in line, I know there's a school called IHA right there. You guys are aware of this. There are no markings anywhere on the street, no signage to let everybody, not even let them know, to remind them that in fact there's a school zone. And there's no reason why these tractor trailers all day long, starting at about 4 o'clock in the morning, should be, well, maybe school's not in session, so I guess it's allowable to go 40 and 50 miles an hour up Van Amber 4 or 5 in the morning, rattling all the homes in the area. But I guess it's okay. But it's no reason during the day, during school hours, that should be allowed. I mean, you're concerned about a little bit of sap on cars. I've got a solution. Park them in front of IHA. There won't be any sap because there's no trees, and possibly when the motorists see them, they may slow down to 25 or even 35. I've talked to people across the town. I mean, Colonial, Washington, Ridgewood, not so much Pascack, I don't know anybody there, Van Emberg. I mean, we have no control of speeding vehicles in this town. And I'd like to address the point, does our police department ever write any speeding tickets? I sure would like to know the numbers, because in front of my house on a Saturday when I was doing some yard work, there were 50, 60, 80, 100 cars going up and down, and well in excess of 25. Believe me, 35, I wouldn't complain. These guys are moving. We got to send somebody out there, and they got to spend more than 15 minutes, or 20 minutes, because, yeah, there are lulls in the traffic. But for the most part, when they come over that hill going down towards 17, they're flying. I don't know if more signage would help. I think more police presence. Every once in a while I do see a black and white, but they're only there for 15, 20 minutes. These people got to get used of having some kind of control. And I'm not talking of, I'm a Van Emberg, I'm prejudiced, My friend lives on Colonial. We were talking the other day, the same thing, up and down Colonial, Ridgewood. It's everybody, Washington. It's the whole town. It's not just one place. I go to Hillsdale and some other nearby towns. They've got these mechanical radar units that say, slow down.
It was up on Colonial all week last week, Mr. Cozell.
And it didn't say anything.
Yes, it did.
I'll tell you what, I looked at that sign. There's no speed limit sign above it. And all it does is say, drive safely.
No, it told you your speed. If you would have waited, it would have told you your speed.
I beg to differ with you.
I was there with my son
Okay,
on...
how are they supposed to know? Okay, granted that it gives you your speed. Is
But you
there-
just said it didn't, so you're already changing, so it
When I
doesn't-
went by, it said drive safely,
And
but
then-
I don't have a picture of it.
Okay.
So I'm not going to prove it, I'm not going to argue with you.
Okay.
I'll take your word for it.
But it
You
does
seem
tell
like
you
an
your
honest
speed.
guy. There's no sign posted above it, so nobody knows what speed they're supposed to be at. I'd love to say it's
The entire
going...
township is 25 except for Pascack.
Well, I think we need more signage, and we need more... No, you're going to shake your head no.
No, I'm saying okay. I'm agreeing with you. I
Okay,
had,
well,
I
how-
had the speed. There's
Okay.
there's 3 speed limit signs on Colonial that I requested and we put up last year.
And
So you
there's still
can't say
speed.
that there's no.
Well, then what's the answer?
I don't know what the answer is.
How many tickets are written by our township police department for speeders?
I could get you that information.
I would appreciate that for the next meeting. Or if-
It's published monthly, so you could have it.
Okay, it'd be wonderful. But my point
But
is,
there are speed limit signs on Colonial that I requested and I've seen it with my own eyes.
but nobody is abiding by them.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I am suggesting one thing. In Hillsdale, there are a sign when you come down the hill that says your speed is, slow down. Maybe you need some kind of visual reminder,
Okay.
okay? Again, the occasional black and white is wonderful,
Yes.
but they're not there 24 hours. They're not there 4 o'clock in the morning. They're not there 5 o'clock. There might only be 5 tractor trailers at that time, but they're coming up at 40, 50 miles an hour, banging. They're beating the road to nothing. I mean,
Okay.
I appreciate what you're saying, but you got to listen to me,
I am.
you know?
We've had,
And
we've
drive
had, this,
safely. I tell
we've
you what,
had
you-
this discussion with the police department, and right, Mr. Tova, how many times have we brought this up on all these streets that Mr. Cozell has taught?
Well, traffic calming is really a function of 3 things: engineering, enforcement, and education.
Well, let's use some common sense. But all we need is somebody out there sporadically in a black and white, and you'll see the people that get used to the black and white will slow down.
We need to
But they
And that
can't
is-
do it for 15
And that is the
minutes.
enforcement piece, and the
You
police
can-
have
yeah,
reported
sure.
they're out there more.
If you have the solution, I'm willing to hear it.
I started to give it to you. There's engineering, there's enforcement, and there's education. The police have stepped up enforcement on Van Emberg. They may have to go a little bit higher. We do have to work on the signage on that road. And we need to do a better job of informing our residents and drivers what the speed limit is.
He's over 5.
Okay, so in plain English, what does that mean? More signage? More police protection? We need to
Probably
do this.
more of everything.
We need to do a lot of things, but what is the real guts approach to getting it done? The need, we know the need. I'm here pleading my need. We need action.
So you're saying you want more enforcement?
What are you saying? We need to do this, we need to do that. I'm not going to debate it with you. We need
Well, I'm not
something.
debating, I gave you the answer, we need more enforcement, we need to look at our engineering, which would be signage, and we need to educate the public as to what the speed limit is.
Okay. Is this a long-range plan or a short-range plan?
It's always long range. Once you start it, you don't
Long range is
stop
not
it.
good. But I thank you, all right?
Thank you, Mr.
I'll get some other people, I guess, to come and plead their case also. Maybe that'll
Thank you.
help. Thank you.
Mike, can I just
We need to
make
go
one
with the
quick
budget.
comment on
Sure.
signs? There's a sign on Washington by Spice and Jackson where I come out, and it says drive safely. I don't know what it says, but it actually obstructs the view when you come out of Jackson and you look west, and nobody really abides by the sign anyway. It's, the cones are on the floor. Can we just have the county take the sign down because it's not doing anything, Mr. Tovo? I mean, it's there, it says drive safely. They come down 50 miles an hour. I can't get out of Spice and I can't get out of Beechwood. One way or another, I'm stuck. But the sign is just obstructing the view for people coming out of Jackson, because if they look west, which is where the parkway is, you just see this sign there. So just, if the county can just get rid of it, it doesn't do anything. And the cones are all spraying all over the floor anyway. So, okay, thank you.
I should do the,
Would anybody else from the public like, yes, Marion?
Mary Ann Osmond, 960 Adams Place. Mr. Bruno, my husband has asked me to come in reference to that sign about 5 different meetings, and I keep forgetting. You're right, that sign when you get off the parkway, it says slow down, no one even stops, no one, yields, no one does anything. And when you're coming out of Jackson, you're right. It actually hampers you for trying to make the left-hand turn, which is impossible to make anyway. So I thought it was our town sign, I wasn't sure if the county put it up, but whoever put that sign up, it doesn't really help the situation at all there.
Okay.
It actually hinders people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? Seeing no one, do I have a motion to close to the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSantis?
Yes. This time, as advertised, we will be holding a public hearing on the 2019 township budget. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing on the 2000? Hold on.
you want to do Mr.
No, we cannot. We have to do this. No, let's do this because we're going to do it at 8 o'clock.
Just 8, you can make 8. You can have the budget to 8, 10. Whatever you want to do.
Just do the budget, do the budget.
Let's just do the budget.
All right, second, all right.
Sorry.
So I'm starting here. So we're going from here. Okay, gentlemen, if we flip the page to budget resolutions, resolution number 19-200, certification of compliance with the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. You've all been given in your packet. Do I have a motion first to resolution number 19-200? Mr. Cummings, your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion, gentlemen. We got up in our packet, we were given the information of where it is in the employee handbook and how it pertains to the township code. Mr. Tovo did supply an answer. It is a conviction, not an arrest, would hamper your employment. Mr. Ullman, the question you had asked at the last meeting? Mm-hmm. So you can be arrested, however, not convicted. So that would be taken into account if you applied for employment.
So a conviction of any manner, any offense disqualifies you immediately from holding a job at the township?
The offenses are actually listed in our manual.
But the arrest would not, Mike.
Okay.
Any other questions on that, gentlemen?
No.
Roll call.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSenza?
Yes.
And as a result, if I could just interject that if I could pass this down in the original signatures on this document to send in. Thank you very much.
Just sign it, Mike.
I signed it already,
As
yes.
long as it's not a credit card application.
Resolution number 19-204, waiver the reading of in full of the 2019 budget. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Sorry, 1 second. You said 204?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Council
Yes.
President DeSenza?
Yes. 2019 budget adoption. Public hearing on the 2019 township budget is at 8:12 PM. Motion to open the public hearing on the 2019 township budget.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you very much.
If anyone, what's that? Oh, roll call.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSenza?
Yes. If anyone desires to be heard regarding the 2019 township budget, please raise your hand to be recognized. Come forward to the microphone at the podium. State your name and address for the record. A copy of the 2019 budget introduction was available at the Township of Washington Free Public Library, and copies of said budget were made available to the public. Would anybody like to come up and address the council regarding the budget at this time? Seeing no one, motion to close the public hearing on the 2019 township budget.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSenza?
Yes. Resolution number 19-205, adoption of the 2019 township budget. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to,
Any discussion?
I'd like to have a quick few comments, if I may. I wasn't here last meeting. I was traveling. I apologize. But I did want to address a couple of things in terms of my feelings regarding the introduction, which I did not introduce the budget, nor do I feel I will adopt the budget. And I do want to address certain comments made about forensic accounting and taxpayers' money. First of all, the set of financial statements we were handed were the sloppiest in years and full of inaccurate accounting, along with actual spending amounts not properly shown. We spent 3 years of tedious reviews, establishing control levers, all down the drain in 6 months. Some of the issues we had was a $12,000 invoice for a search firm was booked to 3 different line items. This impacts the real spend for each of these accounts that the council earmarked for other expenses, and it reduces the amount which we originally intended for these money to be used for, and it also distorts the budget process. We had $45,000 for years sitting in a cash reserve to be used for Town Day. Once again, this was not drawn down upon, causing the taxpayers duplicate spending. In addition, a $45,000 accounting entry was made removing this amount from the reserve, and now the $45,000 is no longer available to the taxpayer to be used for future events. No explanation as to why. Well over $100,000 was paid to the engineer without a full reconciliation as to where the money came from to pay the engineer. Even though I and Mike Ullman requested a full reconciliation months ago, to date, we have received nothing. The mayor stated in May of 2018 that he became aware of this in March or April of 2018. So you appoint an engineering firm after being elected mayor, and there were no discussions or statements showing a 6-figure past due amount until 3 months later? When I stated that we were still in the budget process, and why didn't you tell us? The mayor's comment, I made a mistake. Just another cover-up How can any firm sit with $100,000 of past-due invoices for 15 years is incomprehensible. The council was also asked to fund $1,100 to cover the cost from an outside firm to prepare tax reconciliations. Had we not been asked to transfer this money, this would have been another well-kept secret and also another cover-up. Finally, a $15,000 salary increase and a $2,000 bonus to an employee without knowledge and/or authorization from the council. No need to say more. The nonsense that the mayor didn't need the council approval because the money was there, even though it wasn't, and the council really never said no, is another attempt to cover up an abuse of power and deceitful behavior. This is a breach of the mayor's fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayer and a misuse of our money. You have to ask the question, who will be controlling $12 million of capital expenditures in years to come? I suppose you can all control that outcome in November. I've spoken with Bergen County Prosecutor's Office, the New Jersey State Controller's Office, and the New Jersey State Ethics Commission. Besides termination and fines that can be levied, there is also restitution that can be imposed on the mayor and all other personnel responsible for initiating and authorizing this increase outside the salary ordinance. For everybody who thinks this form of government works, between the prior administration and the current administration, or as the expression has it, the good old boys club, it has cost the taxpayer, you, close to $1 million in cash. This does not take into account the $5 million that sat idle and never used for town projects and now having to spend money on present-day costs. I said it before, and I'll say it again. No one person should have control of purse strings in this town, especially when you have zero financial acumen. Thank you. My answer is no to the adoption.
Would anybody else like to make a statement after Mr. Bruno's statement? Mr. Cummings, Mr. Allman? No comment. Dr. Cassio?
No.
I would just like to say, Mr. Bruno, I find it laughable what you just stated.
I think you're laughable.
We spent 6 months here
Right.
as with many nights,
Right,
many Saturdays.
right.
We all were here when we chose the search firm. We all knew we were spending that money for that search firm. So for you to say we billed it in the wrong place.
We did.
and all that- But we all approved that $15,000.
You hid it in different accounts, Mike. If you
It
don't know
wasn't hidden.
accounting, you
It
don't know
wasn't
accounting,
hidden.
don't try and go into an area that you're not familiar with.
I am familiar
We had to
with it,
spend
Mr.
an
Bruno.
extra time
Mr. Bruno,
because
Mr.
it was the sloppiest stuff we received in 3 years. Thank you.
That's your statement. I am making
It
my
is my
statement.
statement. Make it.
We all sat up here at this dais and approved that search firm to hire Mr. Tova or whoever.
I'm not saying we didn't.
But let me speak, Mr. Bruno.
I am.
But you're not. You're interjecting every five. Did I interject
Mike,
once?
just go
Yeah,
on.
go ahead.
We all sat here and
Yeah, I
hired
know.
that search firm.
We did.
We had to find a way to pay for that search firm. It came out of 3 different items. C'est la vie.
C'est
We
la
all
vie.
agreed.
Just say la vie.
But Mr. Bruno, where was the $15,000 supposed to come from? Your bank account?
Where'd the 100,000 come from?
What
The
100,000
engineer.
are we talking
The
about?
engineer.
It came out of past bills that were never paid.
Where's the reconciliation?
Mr. Tova, we were going to get that?
Yeah, months ago.
Okay. But it didn't come out of the air. So for you to
Most
say
of it
we're
did.
doing stuff close-handed and put doubt on my ethics and morals.
I didn't mention
No,
your
but
ethics
but
and
everybody up
morals.
here has to take credit for that.
Didn't
So
mention
you
your ethics
tarnish
and
everybody
morals.
here.
Don't go overboard.
No, because you're tarnishing everybody here.
Don't cry
Because
the
we're here
story
as
here.
we're
Then
nothing.
I'm tarnishing myself because
Yeah.
I was part of it.
You were.
It was a mess.
It was.
I agree. Thank you.
So, roll call, please.
Councilman Bruno,
No.
Councilman Cassio,
Yes.
Councilman Cummings,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. At this time, thank you, Mr. Lynch, for coming. We'd like to have a recognition of Oritani Bank for their generosity of $100,000 through the donation to the Habitat for Humanity home in the Township of Washington. Thank you, Mr. Lynch.
Thanks for not calling me the late Mr. Lynch. I should have been at 7:30. I apologize, but it looks like I missed out on a lesson in why I never went into politics. You guys do your best for us every night or whenever you meet, and thank you for doing it. I'd like to donate the money for speed bumps on my street if I could do that, personally, right? And Van Emberg or whatever other street would like them, but you know, there is too much speeding in town, and it's time for me to stop and deal with this thing. Okay.
Speak as long as you like, Mr. Lynch.
No. I think we could use more speed bumps. You know, one of my favorite places is over in Hohokus on Powderhorn. They got speed bumps to cut down the people cutting through, and we have the same problem here. People are trying to get on the parkway, get off the parkway, and get around traffic lights and beat their commuting, and the kids from IHA come down my street, and I know, you know, we know what it is. Fortunately, I'm not home. I'm pushing a pencil around at the office, but my wife, you know, lets me know about it every day. So if you guys want to reconsider it, that gentleman that was here was very ardent about what he needs, and I agree with him. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch.
Now it's going to be a shot.
No, not at all.
Yes, it is.
But if you and JC would...
JC, come on up.
So, in addition to all the work that you know, all the money that you donate to the town for many years, you know, not just this one, but this one is certainly outstanding. So, on behalf of Habitat and the town, for you and the bank's generous donation of $100,000 to our new housing in town, we'd like to present you with this plaque. The Township of Washington, in conjunction with Habitat for Humanity, proudly present this award to Kevin J. Lynch and the Oritani Bank Charitable Foundation in recognition and appreciation for your generous donations, enthusiastic support, and devotion to the success of our community. We are indeed grateful and thank you for your valued contributions, which helps us assist the residents of Bergen County. Presented May 20th, 2019 by the Mayor and Council. Thank you very much, Mr. Lynch. As you can see, our ambulance corps was able to stay out. The fire department got called down on call, but they came in recognition of all you do for their organizations. They certainly are, second to none. So thank you for coming out for this. We appreciate it. Thank you again. Great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you for your tremendous generosity.
Thank you, sir. Let me get out before the shooting starts.
No, it's all with the best of intentions. I look forward to the forensic accounting so that we can have the vindicated.
What was 1910? All right.
I don't think it's a vindication, it's just cleaning things up. It's a mess.
I have to go to resolution 1910.
It's a mess that started 8 years ago.
100%. I said,
You know.
All right, gentlemen, back on track now. Resolution number 19-202, authorizing publication of ordinance number 1910 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Can we, I'm sorry. They seem to be jumping around quite right.
We're on 202.
We're on 202, gentlemen.
Weren't we supposed to be, we didn't do 1909, or is that being?
I
first?
misdirected him.
You missed, yeah, you missed the...
She skipped a sheet, sorry. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Ordinance is adoption
going
of the
back to
second reading. An
09.
ordinance establishing the Township of Washington Green Team as a permanent advisory committee.
Oh, good.
Resolution number 19-201, authorizing second reading and opening a public hearing for ordinance 1909. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, gentlemen? Anyone from the public like to address 1909?
Wait, I have to do a motion first.
Yep.
You guys.
We did motion. We have
So you
Steve.
have to do the resolution.
Yeah. You gotta do roll call. No, you gotta do roll call, yeah?
Councilman Bruno.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman Olin.
Yes.
Council President DeSantis.
Yes. Anybody like to address 1909? Do I have a motion to
One
close
second,
after that?
Mike, I just want to ask Mr. Pollard, that is an advisor, oh,
He stepped out for a moment.
well, I'll ask him anyway, but he's not here. Don't worry about it. Never mind.
I thought it was in the ordinance.
All right, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal, just a technicality. Open to the public.
as a permanent advisory committee.
Advisory, okay.
Would anybody else in the public like to discuss 1909? Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 19-09.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Owen?
Yes.
Council President Casetta?
Yes. Motion to adopt ordinance number 1909 at second reading by title.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Owen?
Yes.
Council President Casetta?
Yes. Introduction at first reading, ordinance number 19-10, an ordinance prohibiting animals from certain enumerated recreational facilities in the Township of Washington. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 1910 at first reading by title. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Owen?
Yes.
Council President Casetta?
Yes.
And, I'm
Yes,
sorry,
Mike.
Discuss.
this is enforced by the zoning or the health? What was it? I don't have the original, and the ordinance doesn't, the 1910 doesn't speak to it, so I don't know if 137 speaks to it.
Yeah, it doesn't say it in the, I'm reading the ordinance itself, I don't see what.
I don't see it.
It's 137, yeah.
It's my impression that the code enforcement, the health officer, any police person,
Any police, I remember saying.
and any citizen could write a ticket too.
It's a complaint ordinance. I don't
Okay.
think we're going to have the code enforcement officer, going to the parks. I don't think we're going to have the police at the parks all the time looking for this.
But I think it gave any citizen the
Yeah,
right to
sure. It's like anything else.
make a complaint against somebody that animals on the field.
All right.
All right? Resolution number 19202, authorizing publication of ordinance number 19-10 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Owen?
Yes.
Council President Casetta?
Yes. Ordinance number 19-11, an ordinance under Chapter 55 of the Code of Township of Washington setting forth the range of compensation and manner of payment of employees for the year 2019. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 1911 at first reading by title.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, gentlemen?
Yeah, can I just ask Judy if this aligns with the budget as it stands currently?
Yes.
It does, okay.
Any other questions?
I have a question on special projects for the attorney now. What would they be?
We're talking about the 12.5 item, Mr. Bruno?
The what?
The $12,500 line item?
No, there's special projects in the attorney's salary ordinance, that he can receive money for special projects. I'm trying to understand what special projects there would be.
Litigation involving COA or Viviana.
That's just, so we're going back to the way we were?
Just for those two subjects, right?
I don't know, it says special projects, it doesn't identify it.
They're not identified. As you know, that our code states that the attorney is bound to do all litigation, tax appeals, so on and so forth. But in some unforeseen pending future litigation, I think our attorney has a vast depth of knowledge with those, with the background of these lawsuits, and he would be the best person to handle that litigation going forward. Normally, I wouldn't go that route, but in this particular instance, I think Mr. Poller has tremendous depth and width of knowledge in these subjects, and if I were to hire an outside firm to do it, it would be Mr. Poller, and that's the only reason why I would go along with it. You know, in the long past, I've always been a fan of the flat rate, but I think this is an extenuating circumstance at this point, because we are facing some serious hurdles at this point with some litigation that's pending.
And Judy, that additional money is only $12,500.
And it's only
correct?
12.5, it's capped.
It's capped
And it will be brought to the attention of, I believe, the council
before it's spent.
before it's spent. So we do have control, we do
Where
have
is it
control.
capped?
Huh?
We have a budgetary
We have a budget-
line. In the
budgetary
budget,
line
we
item.
put the $12,500 in there.
There's only that much in there.
Okay, but that was technically for other,
It was for
that was for, you know, for...
stenographers.
Right, so now we've changed the line item?
No, we're going to leave it the way it is.
No, but we're changing the definition of it? Yes. And we have to be, because this wasn't for that.
Judy,
so-
can you move the microphone next to you, Judy? Pull one of them, yeah, thank you.
The 12.5 was designated for additional costs other than, so now we're saying that it will
Originally, it
include.
was, yes.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
you're correct.
So
That
now-
is correct.
Right.
And all those costs will be in that particular line, so we can,
No, I'm just trying to clarify.
yes, Mr.
I'm
Bruno.
making trouble. I'm
Mr.
just
Bruno,
trying to
you are
ask what
correct.
the question is. We budgeted a line item for a specific reason, and now we're changing, keeping the amount, but changing.
Well, we did have it,
the expense.
we did have special attorney projects in there if we had hired a special attorney in that line item.
That was all part of the same line
So-
item.
So we're just changing the description of what we're going to use that money for, in addition to.
In addition
Just
to,
so I
yes.
understand.
Again, that's what, that.
But it's still
that-
capped at the
I
12.5.
got it.
That
Just-
12.5 can be used for additional outside attorneys other than our current attorney, if need be.
And you said that the special projects will be identified and approved?
As Viviano and Coa, and they would have to come to us before he spends any of the money.
Okay.
Any other questions on that, gentlemen?
There's controls on it, Mr. Bruno. You know me, I like a little control.
I agree.
Okay.
So if,
Mr. Allen, go ahead.
no, it's okay.
Okay.
Anything else? Roll call, Sue?
Councilman Bruno,
Yes.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Cumming,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Resolution number 19-203, authorizing publication of ordinance number 1911 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno,
Yes.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Cumming,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Okay. We're going down to the last page, gentlemen, under resolutions now.
Do we have the ability to have the council review any additional billings from the Department of Law?
Well, if there's a contract, technically the council should approve all contracts for outside people. And I assume if you hire somebody, that would entail a contract that we should be reviewing and approving. If that's what you're asking versus.
No, what I'm really, what I'm asking is, so, most recently I have supported this additional monies. We talk about 12,500 being available. In the same breath, we were able to sort of find money in different line items for the search firm, the discussion earlier. So, are we fooling ourselves that there's a control here?
But don't forget, we overrode that control when we approved that search firm. We were told that there was no money. So if we go back to the search firm, Mike, we knew we didn't have a line item in last year's budget for that search firm. And we were told it's got to come from somewhere, and it just so happened to come from 3 different line items. So the same thing would have to happen here, but we'd have to see a contract for the new rate to go forward. Because we did all approve the contract for the search firm. We just didn't have a paying mechanism which is why we split it up into 3 line items.
And didn't take an opportunity to correct it when it could have been corrected.
Yes,
Okay. All right.
but we did approve that contract for Cannon Group.
There, Mike, when I spoke at the last meeting,
Yes.
I fully acknowledge that I was in agreement with that we were at a point where it needed to happen, and there was full transparency that we were going to move that forward. The concern that I had, and I raised then, is that we smeared it across 3 lines, and that, we lose transparency in that manner, and also with our budgeting mechanism.
Does affect it.
It does affect the way we look at it.
Absolutely.
So you can state as many times as you want that we approved it, and I will agree with you.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Moving on to page 3, gentlemen, since we were all over the place because of the budget and the proclamations. Resolution number 19-206, honorary street name designation to Vito Paltrouse Way. Borough of Westwood has already transformed Ridgewood Road in, as it goes past, what is that, Berkeley School? That's already been honorarily made Vito Paltrouse Way on that side of the border. So the resolution is to take it from the Westwood border to the Ridgewood border and make it honorarily new name, street name designating Vito Trouse Way. Anything else you'd like to discuss, gentlemen?
How about we have a motion?
Yes, a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any more comments?
Any more comments, gentlemen?
It's Brookside, by the way.
It's Brookside?
Yeah, Brookside.
Yeah, what? No, it's what?
Yeah. Are we doing Ridgewood Road?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Brookside at the end of Ridgewood.
My kids go to Catholic school, sorry.
See, there you go. I'm just telling you, just correcting, it's my job.
He's also in the neighborhood.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno.
Absolutely.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
With pleasure.
Councilman Oman.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Tovo, you'll instruct the DMF to have an honorary sign made, I guess, to put up? Where are we going to put it? Do we know where we're going to put it? I guess we put it at the Pascack intersection, Mr. Mayor, or? Mr. Mayor? Do we have an idea where we'll put the sign up?
I don't know where we're going to put the sign up, and I believe we do have to run this past the freeholders now that it has council
Okay.
approval.
Okay.
So after they give the approval, we'll decide.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would put it on Sussex,
Yeah.
by the high school.
Motion to adjourn, gentlemen, and go into the conference agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, who moved that?
Mike,
Mike Ullman.
Mr. Owen.
And Mr. Bruno.
Councilman Bruno.
Yes.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman Oman.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Moving to the conference agenda, the first thing is the project tracker, Mr. Tovo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since our last meeting, there have been a few updates to the tractor, but I'll go through it regardless. Memorial Field, the vendors are working with DMF to maintain the field. 676 Washington Ave has now been demoed and all the debris has been removed. Grant writers, we've interviewed one firm and we're interviewing one more firm this week.
Mr. Tova, who was the firm that we interviewed?
Firehouse Grants
Okay.
and GLD will be interviewed this week. Town Hall light repairs due to the drainage project. We're meeting with the contractor this week, Tuesday or Wednesday. Looks like the best available times for him. Paving of Washington and Ridgewood Road. County's reporting they would like to have all the ADA aspects of the project completed over the summer and to repave both roads in the fall of 19.
Right.
2019 road program to include Phase 2 of Woodfield Road. We're still waiting for our engineers to give us our final calculations and numbers. The intersection, I
We
spoke...
did give the council a list, sorry, Mr. Tova, the council does have a list of the anticipated 2019, 2020 road list to be paved. Gentlemen, it's in your packet.
And did I notice that that takes care of some of the emails that have been popping up regarding a street or two that,
Viola was the big one.
Yeah, Viola's on there.
and Viola's on our list.
And a
So
couple
we'll
others,
be
you're correct,
paid.
Mr. Cumming. Yeah.
Right?
The other complaints we received today are on the current list.
Beach is not.
You're right. Did you know?
Oh, well, that's Tom Sears, you know.
What about?
No, Tom Sears' house is done already. It's Councilman DeSena and
Hey, don't put it on me.
Cassio's part that's not done.
Hey, I got a Jeep. I go over the potholes. Don't worry about it. We're good.
I've got a 4Runner, I can even beat you.
It's the downside of being councilman, gentlemen.
Do we also have on the road program the streets that I think we have a bond or an insurance, or we have some money on the side to be fixed that everyone's asking for?
That would be Mountain and,
I don't know,
Yeah, now.
Mr. Ferrara comes in and
Yep.
there's a bunch of streets.
Yep, there are.
Okay, so we have that list?
We do not have that list yet.
We don't, okay.
It was the former engineer has that list, which needs to be transferred to the new engineer.
I don't have a list, so I'll reach out to him to get that. Intersection, no change as of today. 88 curb cuts, again, final contract phase as of now. Solar powered lights are in place in front of the high school and
Mr.
down...
Tova,
Yes.
one quick question. When you talk about the 88 curb cuts on that line, on the previous page, are we talking the same thing for Washington and Ridgewood? Is
Yes.
that included in that 41,000?
The numbers are actually a little bit higher when you include all the streets, but it is all of them.
Okay, so that covers Washington
And Ridgewood.
and Ridgewood?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Class 7 dump, again, funds
Is,
will be...
Mr. Tova, just to go back, the solar powered sign in front of Memorial Field is operational now?
It is, yes.
So if somebody hits the button, it will light
Correct.
up? Okay.
Class 5 dump has been ordered. Breathalyzer, no change in status. Radio system upgrade, still awaiting pricing from our consultant.
Do we have an ETA when that will be given to us?
I would expect that pricing by the end of, the middle of June.
So we'll say June 2019?
Yes.
Is that pricing for installation or pricing of the replacement? I mean, is it pricing, my apologies, is it the pricing of the final job? Because I would assume that's a state contract, so is it?
We're looking at two viable options right now. One would be to go on the pre-existing state system or to upgrade our current system. So whichever path we choose, there are certain known costs that we can take a look at and evaluate and budget for to see which system is more viable for us. And to your point, yes, we would be using state contract vendors for equipment, not necessarily for the installation. Let's put that out to bid.
So may I ask when the upgrade of the existing became an option? Because I was under the impression that it is an archaic system that, takes bulbs and, things that aren't made anymore, and that the goal was to get on a more up-to-date system that could handle the frequencies that we operate on, or expanded frequencies that were not available as part of an upgrade of the existing. So is that changing, or did I misunderstand?
The existing has always been part of the evaluation, that along with a different, I don't want to call it upgraded, but maybe more expansive system such as the state. And the third option was a county system, but the county system does not appear to fit our needs in any way, shape, or form.
I was under the same impression that Mr. Ullman was, that our existing system was inadequate.
That may be a bit of a misnomer to say upgrade. It's more like replace all of our existing or go with the state.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's, maybe that's where the
Yeah.
disconnect was, because I was thinking along the lines what Michael was.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Basketball courts, Mr. Azzalino is preparing the specs to go out to bid. ADA parking at Gardner and Clark have been completed. Signage, PO is virtually finished. Just need some clarification from the vendor on some color choices before we go forward. And the firehouse, no change in status there, other than we are meeting with Connolly on Thursday.
Can we speak to the Borough of Paramus and see where their beautiful signage just came from, Bob?
Certainly can.
Borough of Paramus just put up all brand-new signs. I mean, and they're very, if you go down Linwood and you make the left-hand turn once you go over Route 17, they replaced that one right there, and it's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
I have a couple of questions on the
Sure.
update. Michael had forwarded, or Sue had forwarded a note from Michael about the demolition of the Red House, and I had asked about where we were charging it to and what it entailed. And Judy was nice enough to send me some information. So I guess my question is, how come the Red House is being charged to the intersection?
That was the only line item closely aligned to that project.
Hold on. I find that preposterous, quite honestly. So we have a Red House that is township owned, that the dedication is a couple of feet along Washington Ave. That's the extent of its involvement with the intersection. On the other hand, it's been conveyed that it is part of the master plan of the firehouse. We're going to knock it down, there's going to be parking, it's going to extend westward towards Pascack Road. So I don't understand how we say that that is most closely aligned with the intersection. It may be closest to the intersection, but I do not understand how we say that it is closely aligned to the intersection. The demolition of a house that is nowhere near the intersection, and we're charging the intersection. It's just beyond me.
It's a point well taken. Perhaps we should charge it to the firehouse.
I agree. I mean, that house will be part of the parking lot, right, Mr. Alden?
Maybe.
Well, we haven't seen any final things, as I'm continually told, but I believe when
That's
they
part of the
talked at the
project.
big macro level, the Red House was being demolished for
That
the
area.
firehouse project.
Yes, I have to agree. I think that's charged to the wrong line, and it should be charged to the appropriate line. So if we could make that change, I would appreciate it. Judy, can we still do that? Is that a problem or no?
Okay.
Bookkeeping problem? I think it's, to keep things a little bit more clear. Yes, there's a small contingency involving the
Road
intersection, but definitely it's more aligned with the EMS firehouse project.
And so the contractor absolved themselves of asbestos. Was the house tested for asbestos before it was demolished?
Couldn't answer that.
So we don't know, so he didn't do anything, but we don't know if there was asbestos.
I don't.
We'd have to look at the demolition permit, Mike, because it is a requirement in the demolition permit, I'm sure. For the township building department, we just have to get the information.
I'm sure there's a tank removed.
There was
right?
oil tank removed, there was
So
oil
I'm sure
tank
it's all
removed.
the environmental stuff has to go through DEP before you can just knock down a house.
Well, it's part of the demolition permit, but I don't know, I've never seen it, so I can't answer your question, but we'd have to get you that information, Mike.
Can we pull that permit?
We can get that from building.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sue, can you pull that permit for us, please? Thank you.
Typically, you can't knock it down, Mike, but I don't want to speak for the building department, but that's typical
Well,
protocol.
I mean, we don't have to follow the rules, though, because we're a town.
Not
so-
for that, not for that.
We should set an example, shouldn't we?
I think we should.
I think that's what
I
you
mean,
think.
if-
So I'm agreeing with you.
If there's asbestos floating around,
We don't want that.
no, and considering the house was ancient, I'm thinking that there was lead paint or asbestos or combination of both.
If it had a boiler, there was probably asbestos. But it might have had hot air,
It might have been remediated too.
and it might have been remediated
Well,
a long time ago.
Let's pull the,
Gee, I
let's
hope
pull the
so.
permit.
Before we rented it out. But a lot of things were done 8 years or more ago that we don't approve of now.
The other question I had was regarding engineering fees. Are we charging engineering work to the intersection? Because I thought that was one of the main things that the township was liable for. And that was one of the reasons why we established an ordinance.
Correct.
So are we charging Boswell's engineering work to the ordinance? And the second thing is, in reading the ordinance, I don't see where there is a provision for soft costs or engineering. So, one, should we be? And if we are, do we have to change the ordinance? Because 1805 does not speak to it, any engineering.
Is that where it's being charged, Judy?
Actually, it was being charged to general engineering, and probably should be charged to the ordinance, but the ordinance does not call for...
The intent of the 400,000 was to have that soft cost included, Mike, if I remember correctly.
I would agree.
So
but
it's just an oversight that we need to correct it.
It's silent on it, so I
Okay.
think we probably need,
I
if
think
it,
we'll need an amendment, because it's not...
It was intended to include that number. Because one of the reasons we didn't move forward in the previous administration was they didn't want to pay for the engineering and they didn't want to pay for the acquisitions. And the intent of that ordinance was to pay for engineering and acquisitions, correct, Mike?
I believe that was.
Yeah. So
Well, just to let you know...
can we prepare whatever language we need?
I did talk to the auditor, and he said that if it wasn't changed, it would be a write-up. He wants to change this, actually cite the soft cost in it.
All right, so we have to, can we figure out how to change that, Mr. Tello?
We certainly can.
Anything else, Mr. Allman?
That would be it.
When you're right, you're right.
Anything else, gentlemen? Moving on, we discussed the 2019-2020 roads program update, government responsibility to trees. Mr. Allman, anything else you want to go to that?
No, I think I've said my piece on that.
Intersection firehouse update, are we good?
I think I said my piece on that.
New Jersey Senate support for resolution, the letter we received from Jen Sweet, the Senate Majority Office. Any comment or discussion on that, gentlemen?
You want to give an overview of that?
Resolution in support of Path to Progress recommendations made by the New Jersey Economic and Fiscal Policy Work Group. I mean, I don't know if everybody's read it. I've read it.
You read the resolution, or you read
the sample resolution that came with it.
I mean, honestly, I would want to read what they're actually proposing.
Yeah, it was just for informational support. If we want to put it on next meeting so everybody get more up to speed with it, that's fine.
Okay.
The DEP FEMA ordinance, we're going to table. Mr. Yakimic will be here at the next meeting to present all the findings he found in the email that was provided. So it's pretty in-depth overview Mr. Yakimic did, and we're delinquent in a bunch of areas. So instead of him not be, he's going to be here at the next meeting to present it, so this way everybody can understand what we're missing and not what we need to revise. So we're going to table that for the next meeting. Sustainable Jersey Certification Program. It's a sample resolution for the green team, right, Sue? That's what this is for?
They put on the dashboard.
So they could put on the dashboard that the council and the mayor have really the council has adopted the green team. So if we're okay, we'll have Mr. Pollard convert the sample into a document for the Township of Washington, if everybody's okay with that.
Yes.
Please.
Yes? Mr. Pollard, can you do that, please?
Yes.
2017 audit schedule, Bob, C6.
I'm sorry, can I just back up one?
Sure.
The DEP, the FEMA,
Yep, that's the one
FEMA?
Mr. Yakimic.
Yes. Do you know if today are in action or whatever is deficient, is it preventing anyone, any resident from accessing flood?
If we don't adopt it, they will be denied their flood home.
Okay.
If they do, if there is anybody that does pay flood hazard insurance, if we don't make these amendments to our ordinance, they will be denied flood hazard insurance.
Okay, thank you.
So that's why I'd rather have him here and review everything.
Understood.
Bob, under financials, 2017 audit schedule, C6?
Yeah, well, there's two things. One is the audit, how's the audit going for 18?
They've been in, maybe about 2 weeks, Susan?
Yeah.
I think about 2 weeks, maybe? Yes.
So it's moving ahead?
Moving ahead.
Okay. So on C6, and I sent Judy a heads up, and she responded, and we have copies of it. So here's my question again. On C6, page 79, there's $648,000 of monies, I'm going to speak in layman's term here, ordinance money that we actually borrowed from.
Yes.
It's part of our bans, and we're paying interest on it, but we haven't spent this money for these
Yes.
projects.
Yes.
Okay, so, again, for the umpteenth time, we sit here and we talk about improvements, road improvements, fees, et cetera, et cetera. So if we just look at 1311, and we go to page 78, 1311 says various improvements. And 1311 on page 79 says we have $57,000 that we did not spend, but we're spending interest and it's banned, correct?
Right.
So my question, why can't we take that $57,000 and either use it for various improvements, which we've spoke about for 2 hours here, and/or,
Bob, are you using a different number? Because I see 1311 only has $7,500 left in it.
which one are you using?
57,710.
I'm using what I had in
1311?
in my package.
57,710.
Page 79, you going to 79?
Yep, 57,710.
Yep, that's what we had, that's what we borrowed money against and haven't used, so we're paying interest on it, but it's sitting somewhere, and it's for various improvements. So
Right.
I keep saying, why can't we
Well,
take,
the reason why is that it's borrowed against the ban, which you know is temporary financing.
I understand that.
So if we were to cancel this, what it does is it actually just lowers what the taxpayers are going to pay in the future. That's what it does.
Okay, why can't we use it? It's $57,000 that we borrowed, that we haven't used for, it hasn't been earmarked for anything. Right now, it's sitting somewhere, so earmark it and use it. It says various improvements. I mean, if you go to the next one, 1312.
It's not that, basically, you do have cash sitting there, but you've been using the money all along, is what I'm saying.
But this is from 2013, so we're not, it's done. We've been staring at this for 5 years now. So we're
Right,
not.
the only thing is you borrowed against these ordinances here.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you can is you can use the money, or you could actually permanently finance, so.
No,
we
I
don't
want,
always
don't go into financing for a minute, because Mr. May is going to give us a schedule. This is money that's sitting somewhere that we didn't use 100% of what we took from the ordinance. So if we took 157,710, we used 100,000, and we had 57,710 left over, correct?
Yes.
So what I'm asking is, take that 57,710, because it's sitting somewhere, we're paying interest on it, but we're not using it. So, and it says various improvements, and we just,
Well, the
so,
whole idea, would you rather do that, or would you rather just cancel it and then actually, because if you go to your schedule of unfunded, you'll see that all those numbers are all picked up on the unfunded
okay, so
column. They're not funded.
my question is very simple again. Either we take all this money, and instead of taxing
Well,
the
what
taxpayer
do you wanna
again
do?
for all these improvements and try and find money, use this money, or cancel it all, and don't pay
I
bans.
would rather cancel it.
You're the
That's what I would-
CFO, you
especially
tell
the
us.
fact that- Especially the fact that you're actually looking forward to, maybe doing the firehouse, maybe doing permanent financing. I would rather, especially some of these are so old, I'd rather
So
cancel
Judy,
them.
in
That's what I
Bob's,
would rather
in
do.
Bob's, term, he's saying, if we right now, tomorrow, if you canceled all these these ordinances that have been sitting here with, 1,800 here, 20,000 here, 120 there, would we technically reduce the ban amount by $648,000 if we did that?
Not the band amount. What happens is that bands have to be permanently financed eventually, so you actually would be, this would be less you'd have to permanently finance.
So
Say you have to-
So I'm saying, so you'd eliminate $600,000 in debt.
Right.
So if we had, like, we owe $5 million in bans right now, we'd owe $4 million if we
Right,
got
so
rid
if
of
you
this.
cancel that, you would owe that much less in terms of your.
So why don't we do
permanent
that?
financing. The only thing is, what I would like to do is, like, some of the older ones, I check to see, make sure that everything is spent, and then all the projects.
Well, you don't want to touch 17 and
Right, like
forward,
17,
but
maybe 16, but all the
like,
other
you know,
stuff
the
we
big
touch.
one, 1504, I know what 1504 is. Those are engineering fees for the turf field.
And like 1306.
That we
all
never
those I
used.
would- All those
I mean, we're not going to use this, or use it, one way or another. Don't let it sit there, that's all I'm saying.
Paying interest on it, right?
Well, can we make
Yeah.
let's make a decision right now. It's our, you know, we need to
Well-
make a decision.
Well, can we
so he-
review it first to make a recommendation to the council? Because I agree with Mr. Bruno, some of that probably should be spent and some of it should be canceled.
Right,
Maybe
so-
projects that we didn't completely finish.
So the one-
Or purchase we didn't make that we should have.
So 1507 and 1509, did we overspend those two?
Don't you look at 1507? Actually, believe it or not, those two,
Did we overspend those?
those actually are two audit mistakes. They're in the wrong column, they're supposed to be in the expended column. But I don't prepare the audit, so
Well,
they're
tell 'em-
actually supposed to be on the other, the 14.2 should be zero.
Well, tell 'em to fix it.
45,281, I think is about 29,000, I believe.
Well, let's clean it up and let's decide either we're gonna cancel it or use the money.
Yeah, let's-
'Cause
I
I'm
would
not-
cancel
I'm
everything
not-
but 16 and
I'm not
17,
gonna
right,
keep-
Bob? Are you okay with that, Bob?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not keeping money on the books just to have money in the bank
So
that we're not
Judy,
using.
the game plan,
Or,
The game plan is to find out what's spent.
Just one other thing. If there's 57,000 and it's for various improvements, and the improvement could be, i.e. knock a house down, you know, there's the money. So
No,
one
I
way or
agree.
another,
That's why-
we have to be
So
smart
say,
about
I
it.
think I would like to have an opportunity to check some of these out and just see what the projects are.
And I hear what you're saying, but and my frustration is I've been saying this for years, and it's always the same, and this, I know you're new at it, but it's always the same. I have to really see what the ordinance says. So we've been waiting for a while. So either we cancel
Well, I
it,
actually
be
had to
done with
sample
it.
almost all of these ordinances, so I know what they say.
Okay, so either
And
we
I think
cancel it-
the older ones
So
I've
Judy,
done-
so
Get the
Judy,
money
can
back
we-
and be done with it.
can we go through these, and if there's nothing outstanding that these cannot be closed, close everything except 1602 and 1703?
No, that's exactly what I would do.
Right, Bob?
Yeah, that's my feeling.
This is what we talk about,
Mike,
double,
She
No,
has
I
to check
agree.
and make
I agree.
and she has
double
to check
taxation.
You know,
and see
Well,
what.
once she checks, but once she's done checking, close them.
If
I don't
we
want to
can.
come back and
If we
discuss this
can.
again.
Yeah.
So Judy, if you check them and they could be closed, come back to us and say, hey, gang, we closed all these out, and be done with it.
You got it.
You give her approval to close them?
That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
we have to cancel the ordinance.
Yeah.
I mean,
What remains?
1306, there's 137,000 from road improvements.
Cancel them.
I mean,
But prepare the documents.
To Mr. Tovo's point, so I fully agree we should do it, but if we don't do it in a controlled manner and leverage where we can,
Right.
we're going to miss an opportunity. Matt started that process, I think, and then Mary Ann continued it. We did some cancellations of ordinances 2 years ago, and it lost momentum. So perhaps, you know, address it year by year. You know, there's 3 for 2012, there's 5 for 2013. Maybe we do 1 year at a time, drill down into them, and, you know, we'll either cancel or use the money in a more appropriate manner.
Yeah, it's big numbers in those 2 years.
Yeah.
Years.
It's like 200,000.
Yeah.
I mean,
So what's the next step?
Well, I'm telling, if Judy goes through them, right, and she figures out like, hey, 99705-1 is 100% paid and it can be closed, prepare the document that this council needs to sign to close that. And just keep going down the list, Judy. And as many as we can close
Close them.
them, you know, and bring it to so we can close it. And then Mr. Bruno will
It's less
finally
debt.
have his wish done and
Right.
we'll be done. I mean, he's been asking for this since he's been on council.
We've all been asking for it.
Yeah.
It's
So-
not just, you
So
know,
just start at 99
this is
and
not
keep
something
going
new.
down and say, next meeting, I want to close these 4 because they're fully, I've gone through them, we don't need them, close them.
Yeah, why don't we just
We'll use them.
take 12
Or
first?
say, I'd like to use it for this project.
let's do the 12s first, right away. And if they're not needed,
We'll use the 99s first.
Yeah. just
yeah,
do
there's a
that.
99
Yeah.
up there.
I wouldn't even look at it, just write it off, so. Okay, that was my comment, Mike.
Okay, great.
Next thing we have is exercise program follow-up. Gentlemen, we, at the last meeting, we had two women discuss that the exercise program in Westwood is being stopped for Township of Washington residents, so they no longer can attend. However, there are plenty of classes in Township. What's that?
Leslie,
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So we have, at the library, they have senior chair yoga, it runs every Thursday, 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, and they have mat yoga on Tuesday and Thursdays in Township at the library. And we also have senior classes, so if anybody's interested, please reach out to the rec director and he will let them know where the Township classes are.
I would just say
And also, Mr. Mayor, you have anything else to add?
Well, just the rec coordinator, not the rec director.
Rec coordinator,
Yes,
thank you.
thank you.
Who's the rec coordinator?
Joe
Joe
Sedecase.
Sedecase.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying the name.
Yeah,
and the
Joe said-
email,
yeah,
so
no,
I
no,
know who it
right.
is.
Yeah. At this time, do I have a motion to go into closed session, resolution number 19-207, to discuss PBA negotiations, Viviano litigation, and police department personnel? Do I have a motion to enter into closed session?
Motion.
Second.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Mike.
The PBA and litigation are somewhat self-evident. What's the personnel discussion?
I don't see how we get into
The topic will be a possible retirement within the department.
Which department?
And that would be covered by
Police department.
that exception? Okay,
Roll call?
thank you.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Just give Ricky, let's take a 5-minute break, give Ricky some time to come off. and
Are we
turn off the
coming back
cameras.
into public?
We are not coming back out of closed session.